Manchester United is delighted to announce the appointment of Ralf Rangnick as interim manager until the end of the season. That announcement just been made official by Manchester United. It is subject, they say, to work visa requirements. Following this period, they go on to say, Ralf and the club have agreed that he will continue in a consultancy role for a further 2 years. We've got some quotes in, this from Ralf Rangnick himself. What has he said? He says, everyone at the club is, this is from Manchester United, looking forward to working with him. John Murtough, the Manchester United football director. Ralf is one of the most respected coaches and innovators in European football. He says he was our #1 candidate for the interim manager, reflecting the invaluable leadership and technical skills he will bring from almost 4 decades of experience in management and coaching. Everyone at the club, he goes on to say, is looking forward to working with him during the season ahead and then for a further 2 years in his advisory role. Ralf Rangnick himself has said, I'm excited to be joining Manchester United and focused on making this a successful season for the club. The squad is full of talent and has a great balance of youth and experience. All my efforts for the next 6 months will be on helping these players fulfil their potential, both individually and, most importantly, as a team. Beyond that, I look forward to supporting the club's longer-term goals on a consultancy basis. Now, what we know as well, what they've announced, is that Michael Carrick will remain in charge of the first team until this work visa is finalised. And the club go on to say the club wishes to place on record its thanks to Lokomotiv Moscow for their cooperation in the process of bringing Ralf to Manchester United. So, Sue, he is in there on this interim for the next 6 months and then in consultancy. He is known, his encyclopedic knowledge of footballers from not just the Premier League, but from around Europe as well. And this idea of, that he says there, of bringing youngsters through as well, has been his hallmark. How excited should United supporters be? Oh,
definitely. I think, over the years he's worked with and developed some very good players. I think, you can name sort of the likes of Mane and maybe Keita, Firmino, players that he's had an influence on, if you like, and they've gone on and I suppose done amazing things. And you also think, will he influence some of the players that are there already, some of the younger players, the likes of Rashford, Greenwood, Sancho? Is he going to take them to the next level? Because I think I'd be thinking that as a young player. I'd be looking at what he's done previously and go, OK, wow, this is going to help me as a player get to the next level and improve sort of my skill set, if you like. So, yeah, I just think he's a coach that can identify players and make them into world-class players. So it's exciting, I think, for those players within the club, and obviously he'll have his own players that he's been looking at himself at other clubs that he'd probably want to bring in. Interesting,
Stephen, they've used the word consultancy role rather than technical director or some other title that would fit that. What do you read into that, if anything?
I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. I think it's... If I was a Manchester United player now, a fan, I'd be excited by the appointment, because the way I'd look at it is I'd be looking at it thinking he's going to come in, he's going to have his way of playing, but he'll also be able to read so much about the squad and get such a better understanding of the strengths, the weaknesses, individually, the personalities. So when a new manager comes in, would you trust Ralf Rangnick and his opinion? I would. I'd straight away, I'd be like, yeah, I fully trust you, I get it. Don't get me wrong, we've all got our own opinion on things, and a manager might see something else that he might not see. But the guy's vastly experienced. If he came to me and said, listen, there's what I see about all these players, this is what I think their strengths and weaknesses are, I'd love to have it. And I think it's really interesting. I think going forward as well, long term, to see what's needed for the team. he can now assess that over the next 6 months and with that 2 years in mind.
Yeah, as I said before, we had the privilege of spending time in his company, didn't we, on the football show a while ago. How did you find him?
Fascinating. His football brain, the way he thinks about things. I do think maybe his biggest strength is building a football club, as in behind the scenes and what needs doing. Well, what do Manchester United need? They need that in abundance. He was hugely engaging. I mean, when we interviewed him, I could have sat there for about a full day talking to him, asking him questions, because he's got so much knowledge and information, things that you don't necessarily think of that he brings to the table. So if I was a United fan, I'd be delighted.
I think when you look at, I was just going to say, I think when you look at some of the best managers, the likes of Klopp and Tuchel, you look at, and Pep, you look at players that play for them managers and they develop and they get better. And I think that's something that he can bring, and I think that's so important. You know, all of these players that, yes, there's world-class players at Manchester United, but he's going to make them even better players, and I think that's exciting as a player playing for Manchester United.